known as the brief background of pharmacovigilance industry, and why this term actually came into place, till when, what was the era that we started looking after the pharmacovigilance, why it is so important, and do we really following such sort of trend in our country, and what is the trend in different countries, what is the history related to it, what is the different milestones that has given rise to this industry. That is what we're going to see today. Okay. So the very first thing I would like to ask you is, do you really feel safe if you are trying something new, or in terms of any pharmaceuticals or in terms of a drug? I would like to ask you if you really feel safe or not. Okay. So if some physician, if you go to some physician, a new physician, or might be a family physician for any different sort of disease or disorder you're facing, which is new, right? For if you're suffering from a disease or disorder, definitely it would be new for you, right? It would be a first time experience for you. So whenever he or she is prescribing some different sort of medication to you, so whatever first question comes in our mind is it safe or not? Is it only going to give us good effects, or are these going to give us side effects or bad effects as well, right? So we do feel, or we do think about in such a way that is it really safe to take this medication? So definitely being a very vigilant customer, or being a very vigilant patient also, we do ask our pharmacist, or we do ask our family physicians, or whosoever is our MBBS MD doctor, that are we going to have any side effects with this new medication, right? Because we are not used to it. It is new for us, right? So definitely, so if we want to think about the safety of a drug, whichever is the department that is looking after safety of a drug, or in term as a pharmaceutical products, or in term as the API, I can say active pharmaceutical ingredient. So whatever is the industry that is working for, the industry is called as pharmacovigilance industry. I hope I'm audible clearly, right?
Yes, yes, you're audible.
Okay, yes, fine. So let's look after the term pharmacovigilance. Okay, let's look after the definition of pharmacovigilance. So how do we define pharmacovigilance? Is basically we need to segregate, or we need to divide this term into two different particular separate terms to understand what is the meaning of pharmacovigilance. So as we have seen in different, you might have visited some shopping malls, you might have visited some theaters, or some amphitheaters, or you might have visited some bigger buildings, or let's say a bank, right? So everywhere there is a word, or there is a plate written that you are under CCTV surveillance, right? So why this particular thing is written? Because somebody is keeping a watch on you, right? Somebody is looking after you, somebody is looking after each and every step that you are taking into that particular premises. Why? Because they are making sure that you should not commit any sort of wrong actions, or any sort of I can say robbery, or I can say anything that is going to lead you into a critical situation, or into a bad situation, right? So that is the reason everywhere we see that you are under CCTV surveillance. So same is the word pharmacovigilance means. So I can divide the term into two things. That is a pharmacon, which is a Greek word, and plus a Latin word, that is vigilare. Okay. So vigilance is nothing but the surveillance. Okay. These two terms are synonym to each other. So what is the actual basic meaning of pharmacovigilance is pharmacon and vigilare. That is the Greek word meaning drug. Drug in other word meaning active pharmaceutical ingredient, or in other layman term, something that we are taking to cure our diseases, or to cure our disorder, or anything that is bad happening to us. Whatever drugs we are taking, whatever medications we are taking to treat us, or to treat that this particular disorder, is known as drug. Okay. And the Latin word vigilare stands for to keep a watch on. That means we are keeping a watch on that particular drug's behavior, or that particular drug's performance when we are taking that drug to treat any particular disorder or disease. Okay. So in other word, what is the meaning of pharmacovigilance? It is to keep a watch on that drug. Okay. To keep a watch on that activity of that particular drug or active pharmaceutical ingredient. Okay. So what is the meaning of definition of a pharmacovigilance? So definitely pharmacovigilance we can define in different terms, different what I can say, ways by which we can understand what actually it means is, as by the segregation of the word also, we can understand what it is. But definitely, as we have different regulatory bodies, we have different word bodies which look after this pharmacovigilance department, or who plays important role in keeping this department active. So they have put forwarded their particular definitions, like how we are going to define the pharmacovigilance. So according to me, when it comes to industry, defining the pharmacovigilance in terms of WHO is very simpler, and it is broadly, or no, it has explained every parameter that we do, or the activities that we carry out in the pharmacovigilance industry. Okay, so we do have different definitions according to WHO, according to EMA, but I would like to say that the definition which has been given by WHO, it's simpler, easy to understand, and easy to explain as well. So it is better for everyone to go with the same definition when it comes to explaining something. Okay. So let's see what is the definition of pharmacovigilance. So what they're stating is pharmacovigilance is the science and activities relating to the detection, assessment, understanding, and prevention of adverse effects or any other medicine related problems. So in other term, we can divide the definition into 5 to 6 different parts. Okay, as we know, anything that we have learned, let it be science background, let it be engineering background, let it be any doctorate background, so it is nothing but whatever we learn, we need to apply that knowledge into when it comes to the actual working field, when it comes to job or when it comes to anything. So everything is an applied science, everything is an applied mathematics, right? So the pharmacy field is also the same. The pharmacovigilance field is also the same, that whatever you have learned, the science activities, you have to apply those activities. Okay, whatever the pharmacovigilance science that we have and whatever activities relating to it, we need to apply those. And we have to apply those to what? To detect, to assess, to understand, and to prevent whatever adverse drug reactions that are happening because of any sort of drug. Okay, let's say how I can explain that. Okay, for example, let's say I am taking a drug called paracetamol. Okay, it's a very common drug. It's off patented drug. Okay, it's an OTC product. Anybody can go and purchase the product at any time in any pharmacy shop, right? There are no regulations on into its purchase, right? So let's say I have taken paracetamol today, but by tomorrow I have developed a particular rash on, let's say, on my hands and my legs. Okay, so it's like throughout my body I have developed a rash after taking the drug paracetamol. Okay, and I have to report it to the manufacturer. So what I'll do is, being a very vigilant patient, we all have a sort of particular free call center numbers or toll free numbers, or let's say an email address given on the sachet of that paracetamol or a strip of that paracetamol packet. So what, being a very vigilant patient or being a very vigilant customer, what I can do is I can call that toll free number. I can tell them that what different thing has happened with me, when I have purchased that drug, when I have taken that drug, and on to which date, what is the adverse reaction. That is rash. Rash is the adverse reaction, and when it has developed. Okay. So if I am stating that I have developed this rash because of paracetamol, so actually I am reporting them an adverse drug event or adverse drug reaction particularly. So this definition of WHO gives you a very brief understanding of what are different activities that we carry out when it comes to pharmacovigilance. So firstly, I need to detect if something has happened to me after taking the medication. Once I have detected, I need to assess that particular adverse drug event or reaction, whether it has actually happened because of the drug or not. After that, I need to understand the whole scenario, whether there is anything that has been related to particular adverse drug reaction, whether it is the only suspect drug or whether it is something else that is contributing, what actually is happening to the patient. And after that, I need to look after whether how I could prevent these reactions the next time. Okay. So this is in broad term the definition of pharmacovigilance activities that we carry out on day to day when it comes to pharmacovigilance. Okay. Being a drug safety officer, or in other term, being a PV officer or a PV analyst or pharmacovigilance analyst, these are all the activities that we carry out on daily basis. Okay. So there is again another definition which is given by EMA. that is European Medicines Agency. Okay, so into GVP, that is Good Pharmacovigilance Practices Guidelines, they have also published their own pharmacovigilance definition, which is sort, I can say, it's a very elaborative definition and a bit complex to explain. So I always suggest everybody to go only with the WHO definition of pharmacovigilance because it's quite easier to explain it. Okay. So let's say what is the definition given by according to EMA. Okay, so what they're saying, so pharmacovigilance is preventing harm from any adverse drug reactions in humans arising from the use of authorized medicinal products. Okay, same thing. Whatever fourth part we have seen in the WHO definition, they're talking about it the first. Okay, they're talking about directly the prevention of any adverse reaction that is happening because of the medication. Okay, within or outside the terms of marketing authorization or from occupational exposure, and promoting the safe and effective use of medicinal products, in particular through providing timely information about the safety and medicinal products to the patient, healthcare professionals, and the public. Okay. So to give a brief background about this definition, I would like to say that there were different scenarios that came into picture in the history, which let us know, which let the world know that we need to have a good safety and efficacy on any pharmaceutical product if we are going to use it on humans. Okay, why? Because there is a lot of mess that happened in the industry. We lost a lot of people, we lost a lot of child, there were deaths because of less clinical trials or no clinical trials being carried out onto those patients. So we did not had any sort of a good data in our hand regarding to that particular patient's safety of that particular pharmaceutical product. Okay, so there was no safety profile were mentioned, there were no efficacy profile were mentioned, but still the products were marketed in the industry. The products were out to use for normal people like us, common man. We used it, and in another term, those particular products gave rise to different ADRs or adverse drug reactions or adverse event, which even caused death of many patients. Okay, so that is the reason this particular term came into picture, that to have a safe and effective use of a medicinal products. So this basically this whatever is the term safe and efficacious is not only applicable in the pharmaceutical industry, but it's applicable everywhere. Okay, any product, if it is any product based industry, this term is very much applicable. You can give an example of an automobile industry. Okay, let's consider if you're going to buy a car the next day, right? Buying a car can actually cost you minimum 15 to 20 lakhs. Okay, let's consider 20 to 25 lakhs. You will be able to buy a good car if you want to buy a good car for your family. So definitely, if you're putting 20 to 25 lakhs on a product or an automobile to buy, so particularly what main points you would see after while looking to buy a car is that it should be very safe to drive, and the other thing is it should be efficacious. If I'm buying a product of 20 to 25 lakhs, a car, definitely I should be able to run, or I should be able to use that car for at least minimum 5 to 10 years, right? Without any problems, without any hurdles. I should be able to use that car for at least 5 to 10 years. That is what we see. So ultimately what I'm looking after, I'm looking after the efficacy of that product. And definitely whatever is the braking system, whatever is the features given by the car, those all will come into the safety features of that particular car, right? So this particular points, that is safety and efficacy, not only goes with the pharmaceutical industry, but it is actually applied to any product based industry. Okay, so it's an example on automobile. Okay, so same thing, they have given you the same definition what is being told by the WHO, but it is into very elaborative way. In EMA definition, they are additionally included these 2 points of safety and efficacy, that is safe and effective use of a medicinal product. Okay, fine. So again, when we are looking after pharmacovigilance, it is very important to know these terms of pharmacopepidemiology, then what is pharmacology, then what is epidemiology. All these terms are very important to understand. When we're talking about pharmacovigilance, we need to start actually, or a person need to have a very clear idea of clinical trials, different clinical trial modules, where different clinical trial phases, because the pharmacovigilance activities does not only run for the products which are already in the market, but it also runs for the products which are under clinical trial. So in other words, I can say preclinical and post-clinical. Okay, for this all two terms, the pharmacovigilance activity do run. So it is very important to know about all these terminologies as well. So let's see, or let's look after the history trend, or what are the scenarios those gave rise to the Department of Pharmacovigilance. Okay, because of these particular two, three events, or this particular two, three, tragedies, we can say, actually Pharmacovigilance Department took into place, or worldwide everybody came to know the importance of pharmacovigilance. Okay, let's move ahead with the first example. So way back in 1937, okay, can you see the year 1937 in a country like India or other developing countries were not even independent those time. Okay, so can you see in 1937, a company called SE Messenger, they developed a drug called sulfanilamide. Okay, they developed a preparation of sulfanilamide in the mid of 1937. Okay, and this drug was developed to treat the infections of streptococcal. Okay, so they have developed it in the sense of powder and tablet format. But however, in 1937, the technology was not too good. Okay, so it was difficult for this drug to get dissolved. Okay, the drug was not easily soluble or dissolvable into the water, I can say. So what do they do is, so they actually took this sulfanilamide and they mixed it with a solvent called diethylene glycol. Okay, so you can imagine if I'm mixing a sort of, let's say, take an example of a sugar powder. Okay, if I'm mixing a sugar powder into water, it can be easily getting soluble. So you can imagine the sulfanilamide was not getting directly dissolving in the water. So what do they do is they took help of a solvent known as diethylene glycol. Okay, so what did it do? They took sulfanilamide, they dissolved it in diethylene glycol. However, as into 1937, there were no concept of taking a clinical trial or testing those solvents and even the active ingredient. So they were not knowing that diethylene glycol was a toxin. Okay, diethylene glycol can cause toxic effects into human body. Okay, this concept was not familiar that time. So what do they do is they prepared the solution of this thing and they named it as elixir sulfanilamide. Okay, so as in whatever brand name we see in writer nowadays in the market. Let's say for paracetamol, you can have a brand name of para 500, right? That means the drug contains paracetamol 500 milligram. So like that, these people named this drug as a brand name of elixir sulfanilamide. Okay, and additionally they have added a raspberry syrup into it as a flavoring agent. Okay, so can you imagine, they did not do any sort of test onto that preparation. They only tested the preparation for its appearance. In other words, how does it look? Is it looking red, or is it looking like a strawberry red color, because they have added raspberry flavor into it, and they have just tested it for its appearance and palatability, like how it tests. Is it testing like a raspberry, right? Like a sweet flavor. Okay, that is the only test. These two tests were only carried out on this particular elixir, and they have marketed this preparation without doing any preclinical studies, without doing any clinical studies. They have directly taken authorization to market the drug. They sold out it to many people in US. So whatever this happened in US. Okay, so more than 100 US citizens and many of the children died due to renal failure after consumption of this drug. So I would like to add on to here is, in this drug, that is elixir sulfanilamide, the sulfanilamide was not actually the toxic substance that caused renal failure, but it was the solvent. Okay, it was the solvent diethylene glycol, which was a toxin actually that led to renal failure after its consumption, and many people died because of it. Okay, so this was the very first event that happened in the industry, which gave rise to, or which gave an hint that we need a pharmacovigilance department, or a department, or some department who will look after such activities, or who will look after the safety and efficacy of any particular pharmaceutical product. Okay, can you see how the formulation looks like? The formulation looks like, very, very simple. Nowadays, we don't even see such sort of bottles, even in the pharmacy shops, or not even in the any Ayurvedic shop also. Hardly such types of bottles are now seen in nowadays, right? But in 1937, as I said, there was no much research, had happened onto pharmaceutical industry. So it is a reason it is very simpler. Can you see the bottle is very simple, the stopper is very simple. They have just tied the stopper with the help of some cellotape like substance. The label also on the bottle is very simple. There are no much details on the label, right? So you can see how basic product they have developed, and even after not conducting any sort of test or clinical trials, they have sold the product into the market. Okay. So can you see US versus death to save 700 from elixir, recovery of pint bottles sold to patient goal as death from poison reached 36. So what actually this slide is saying about, can you see this is how the label looks like. So actually when the US FDA or when the US authority or US government came to know about this particular event, this particular tragedy that has happened, so they actually recalled the product from the market. Okay, so they have recalled almost 700 bottles from the market. So whatever they are actually saying, they could save 700 people from dying. What it other word it means is they could recall 700 bottles, so that 700 people they saved from death. Okay, fine. So can you say this is a very basic label? They have just named the active ingredient of sulfanilamide. They have given it in grams. 40 grams was the amount into it. Other things they have not at all even stated. Whatever is the other ingredients, what is the solvent, what is the flavoring agent, they have not at all even stated on this label. It's a very basic label. Okay, they have just stated what is the dose, like 2 to 3 tablespoons of water every 4 hours we have to take. So the only the direction is given. Okay, there is no, can you see there is no phone number, there is no email. See, emails were not at that time, right? So there was no contact details given, or there is no corresponding contact detail given. So if anything happens to any patient, to whom we should call or to whom we should reach out, right? So there is nothing given on this label. So can you see the concept was not there at the time of 1937. Okay. So this was the first event, and then the very, very big tragedy that happened was because of the thalidomide. Okay, so thalidomide is another story which the government tried to suppress because many people died due to this thalidomide tragedy. So another thing you can say is thalidomide is the actually milestone in the development of pharmacovigilance industry. So such many events happened, but if you consider the industry, if you consider the actual growth of this pharmaceutical industry, these two events are very, very important, which we always talk about or which we always discuss about when it comes to know about the generation or the development of the pharmacovigilance industry. Okay, so let's see what this thalidomide actually did. Okay, so this thalidomide tragedy has happened in somewhere around 1957 and in between 1962. Okay, so this drug has been marketed in 1957. Okay, under the name of thalidomide, which is developed by the German company. Okay, and they sold the drug as a sedative or hypnotic. So what is the use of this drug is it was actually used for as a sedative and hypnotic drug. Okay, after once the drug was into market, okay, into 1957, over the period of time, quickly the drug became famous as an OTC drug. Like paracetamol, we take paracetamol as an OTC drug. So same in such scenario, in the scenario of thalidomide, same over a period of time, it became very rapidly popular as an OTC drug to use or to treat the sedative and hypnotic nature. Like for example, I can again say when there were pregnant women, okay, on that era, 1957, it became very famous to those pregnant ladies, as the drug was able to treat the morning nausea feeling when a lady is pregnant. Okay, so what it used to do is the ladies used to take it to prevent the vomiting that happens early morning when a lady is pregnant. There is always a feeling of vomiting and nausea in the early morning. So this drug is used to treat, or this drug is used to suppress that particular feeling of vomition. Okay, So that is the reason what had happened is particularly this drug being used for that particular thing. Okay, so shortly once the drug was sold in between this era, so I can say almost 5,000 to 7,000 infants were born with a symptom called phocomelia. Okay, so what is the symptom? If you are able to see the pictures right below, so it is actually the malformation of the limbs. Okay, the malformation of the limbs. So what happens is after taking this drug, particular drug, what happens is the particular limbs or the extremities of any particular baby, okay, it is malformed. Okay, it is malformed, or I can say the limbs are distorted. Okay, the limbs are distorted, or the limbs are not in a good condition, I can say. Okay, so through the world about 10,000 cases were reported and only 50 survived. Okay, so I can say even I have heard the news in last 1 or 2 year only. The last baby that has survived because of this thalidomide tragedy has also been died. Only I saw the news 2 to 3 years back only. So the last baby that has survived this particular tragedy, that baby also has died. Okay, so that is the only person that was still living. The person was suffering from the same scenario or the same disorder, we can say phocomelia or malformation of limb, that has also been died. Okay, so I can say all this, see, this is the number that has been published. Okay, this has been published to the people in the market, that there are only 10,000 cases. So definitely, so the number should also be high. The people tried to suppress this thing, but the number should have been high. Okay, fine. So I can say this was a very huge event. Okay, this something led to think the different researchers and people in the industry that what actually is happening. Okay, we are not looking after the safety and efficacy of the drug. So the drug was banned into March 1962. Okay, so these two things led to a very big event, that is the recall, the concept of recall and the concept of banning a drug has came from these two particular milestones. Okay, so I can say, if you can see on the next slides, so in response to this particular events, different laws came into place. So can you see the first para, that is in response to the elixir sulfonamide disaster in 1937. Immediately the next year, the Drug and Cosmetic Act came into place. Okay, so what this act is actually saying, this act is saying is pharmaceutical product manufacturers would have to show scientific evidences of the safety of the drug before releasing it for sale. Okay, so basically nobody was showing the scientific evidences, or nobody was submitting any sort of documentation regarding the safety of the drug to different regulatory industries. Okay, this concept was not there, but after 1937, after this elixir sulfonamide disaster, this particular law has came into place, that is D&C Act, which is very familiar into us by the name of D&C Act. Immediately after, within a year, they have released this law. Okay, and other thing, what second thing happened in the industry is, in response to the thalidomide disaster in 1962, that is, we have seen in 1962 the drug was banned. Okay, so immediately in 1962 only, in the same year, we in the US, they have approved this Caffar-Harris amendment or drug efficacy amendment, which shows that it stated that the scientific evidences of safety and efficacy of drugs are required before drug tests or trials in humans. So initially, till 1938, they were only talking about the scientific evidences of safety. But after this thalidomide disaster, they have started talking about the safety as well as efficacy of the any pharmaceutical product. Okay, any pharmaceutical product should have safety and efficacy before it is being tried on any humans. Okay, particular living humans. That is what this different terms came into picture. Okay, so I can say the milestone in the development of pharmacovigilance is the tragedy of thalidomide, right? Thalidomide tragedy, a milestone in the origin and development of pharmacovigilance. Okay, fine. So as a meaning of pooling existence data on the ADRs, that is adverse drug reactions, WHO's program for international drug monitoring was started in 1968 post the thalidomide disaster. So can you relate the years? After some years, we are developing and now we are setting new programs to look after the adverse drug reactions. Okay, so WHO has proposed some international programs to monitor the drugs, okay, the drugs performance, okay, that has been started into 1968. Initially a pilot project in 10 countries with established national reporting system for ADRs, and the network has since expanded significantly as more countries worldwide develop national pharmacovigilance centers for recording of ADRs. Right, so as WHO created an awareness into the industry of pharmaceuticals, that we need to look after each and every drug's performance for its safety and efficacy. So soon each and every country started taking part into this pharmacovigilance activity. Okay. Currently, 86 plus countries participate in the program, which is coordinated by WHO, right? So as we know, we all have signed an agreement with WHO. So it is very familiar. WHO term is very familiar even after, many people have started knowing about it after this Corona crisis. So almost 86 plus countries are, participant of the WHO program, and it is collaborated with the center in Uppsala, Sweden. Okay, so Uppsala, Sweden, there is a center in Uppsala that coordinates all these programs. Okay, this collaborative center is responsible for maintaining the global ADR database, that is Vigibase. So Vigibase is, again, I can say, a worldwide database. It's a kind of server, I can say. You can think it about as a server. So any adverse drug reactions or any pharmacovigilance that report that is being generated by any country, any company, any pharmaceutical company, each and every report is with Vigibase. Okay, throughout the world, everybody is bound to send one copy of that report to Vigibase, which will be stored in Vigibase. So Vigibase actually works as a worldwide database, or in other words, I can say that it works as a server. Okay, it works as a world server.
So
These are
Vigibase
different.
Vigibase is a database of all drugs
Pardon?
across the world. Vigibase is a database for all the drugs across the world, correct?
Yeah, basically, CVG base is actually been developed by WHO. It works for everybody in the world, but most of the time, the EMA, that is European countries, are actually taking a lot of active participant into it. But it actually works for the whole world. It has each and every report with it. So it's like it works like if let's say I am working for CDSCO, and according to my any sort of SOP. If let's say in any report I'm not bound to submit to, let's say, USFDA. Okay, if that report does not lie within a regulatory reporting sense, like it is okay not to submit it to USFDA. So even if I do not submit to USFDA, one copy will always remain with Vigibase. Okay, so what happens is if in a future, if let's say USFDA wants a copy of that particular report, okay, because we have not submitted that time to USFDA, but USFDA actually wants one copy of that report in the future, let's say. So USFDA need not to come to Indian CDSCO agency, or they need not to contact the particular company. They can just set a channel through the Vigibase, so that whatever particular report they want, they can find it throughout the Vigibase. So that is what actually Vigibase works like. So it actually facilitates everybody to have access to each and every report worldwide. So there should not be any foundation, or there should not be any communication if you're missing something that you need to go to any particular regulatory authority, but you can directly contact Vigibase. So that is how Vigibase
So,
works like.
like access to Vigibase is for the government agency has the access to these Vigibase, or all pharma industry has access to these Vigibase?
All pharmacovigilance industry has access to this Vigibase. The only thing is they need to send a request, particular
Hmm.
request. The Vigibase can set a channel for this particular request, and they can directly then send a copy to that particular industry or particular regulatory authority if they want.
Okay. Okay.
So these are different, I can say different era by different years. These different laws came into place, and each and every law gave their importance, like how we need to treat humans, how the ethical principles we need to apply. Then by such development yearly, we came to a very good law, the last law, that's Belmont Report. So nowadays in the industry, people are thoroughly following the Belmont Report, which is based on three basic essential principles, that is respect, beneficence, and justice. Okay, so what does it state? It's even if it is a clinical trial, or even if your drug is out of clinical trial, each and every patient, each and every subject, okay, or in other word, each and every human who is suffering from any disease or disorder needs to be given a respect while you're handling any subject or any patient, okay, or any customer, as as it comes to pharmaceutical industry. Okay, beneficence is like we need to think about always the risk and beneficence scenario when it comes to any pharmaceutical drug. So we always need to think about the beneficence, and not about the beneficence of the pharmaceutical company, but definitely the beneficence of towards the subject and the patient. When it comes to a drug, okay, only and only the drug will come to the market only when the risks are less and the benefits related to that drug is more. Then only the drug is going to get launched into the market. Okay, and the other third part is justice. So every time the justice should be given to the subject or a patient who is taking or who is being enrolled in any sort of development activities related to any pharmaceuticals, or I can say API development, okay, active pharmaceutical ingredients development process. Okay, so the Belmont Report is very important nowadays. Also, we do follow the Belmont Report justice principles only, that is respect, beneficence, and justice. These three principles we do always follow nowadays in the industry. Okay, so let's look after how the process of pharmacovigilance actually runs. Okay, so we can think about the chart, the flow chart that has been given. That let's consider a patient has taken a drug. The patient is feeling unwell now after taking the drug. The patient is not feeling good. Instead of feeling good, the patient started suffering from any other side effects or any other adverse drug events. Okay. So what the patient can do is the patient can choose two ways. Either the patient can directly report by him or herself, or the patient can report whatever is happening to him or her to his particular family physician or whosoever is his physician. Okay, so these are two ways the patient can report. Okay, he or she can report by themselves, or they can go and report to their physician. Again, whatever the patient is reporting, the report will directly go to company or the marketing authorization holder of that particular drug, or the report, or even whatever the patient is reporting, it can go to health authority. Same is the thing, even if the physician is reporting, the physician will again follow the same thing, that the physician can inform the ADR to the call center number of the company or directly to the healthcare authority. Same, the patient can also follow the same thing. As I said, there will be many channels, not only the call centers or not only the emails. There can be many channels, there can be many programs that has been put forward by the company itself. There can be email addresses, there can be fax numbers, and number of things, right? So by them, the patient and physician both can report to the call center number of that particular company. Okay, so what happens is, in other term, what happens, whatever the report is being sent to the call center, the call center will directly forward the report to the PV department. Okay, company's PV department, that particular company's PV department. And ultimately, the process of PV then starts. So we can divide the process of PV into four different parts, that is ICSR, and then aggregate reports, signal detection, and RMP, that is risk management plan. Okay, so these are broadly four different steps into which we look after the PV department as in detail. So as I said, what all different people who can report? The patient can report, anyone behalf of the patient can report, the physician can report, pharmacist can report, anybody who is manufacturer of the drug or distributor of the drug, or any hospital staff or coroner can report. So in other term, what I can divide is, I can divide these people into healthcare professionals and non-healthcare professionals. Okay, so definitely the physician, nurses, pharmacists, all these people will fall under healthcare professional part, and a non-healthcare professional is any consumer or any layman who is taking the drug. Okay. Again, so what are different types of reports that we receive in the pharmacovigilance industry? It can be a solicited report or it can be unsolicited report. So definitely when it's solicited report, we need to understand that there is some obligation for such reports to be reported in the pharmacovigilance industry. And which are such reports? Any report that has been generated in the clinical trial phases. Okay. Any report that has been generated, let's say any 4 to 5 clinical trial phases, whatever is the report being generated, the investigator or the physician who is leading the site of that particular clinical trial has to report or is under obligation to report that particular report in the PV department. And those such reports will be classified under solicited report. In opposite to this, when there is no mandatory thing, okay, there is no obligation to report, or it is very much, by will, by voluntary, anybody or any patient or any physician is voluntarily reporting just because they want to report. So those all reports will fall under unsolicited report type. Okay, so here we can have spontaneous report, we can have any news media reports, we can have any sort of legal reports or literature reports. Why? Because somebody wants to report and that is the reason they have reported it. Okay. Again, we have classified this like which all can be solicited and which all can be unsolicited. So definitely internet report will go under unsolicited. Clinical trial and any study report will go under solicited.
Example for the report solicited and unsolicited report means I mean to say that generally all the patients will be falls under the unsolicited reporting, correct?
See, it depends. Every patient, even if the patient can himself be a doctor, right? So it depends what is given in the report. Okay. So if it is very clear that it's a consumer that is reporting, he is not any HCP or he does not carry any sort of degree of doctorate or pharmacist or nurse, and he is not, or any dentist even. So if it is very clear that the patient is a non-healthcare professional, then we can classify that report as an unsolicited. But if we can say, even if into any clinical trial report, though the investigator is reporting, but even the secondary reporter we have as a patient, okay, and the patient is also having some sort of medical judgment because the person is that professional or educated, we can say, by holding a degree, then we can consider that patient as a secondary reporter. It depends how the profession of the patient is mentioned. Okay, so if we do not have any sort of these details, so definitely we are going to treat that particular report as an unsolicited report only. But if we have any sort of idea that along with the investigator we have a secondary reporter which involves the patient or the subject, then we can consider that particular report as a solicited report. But we do have the facilities to consider all those particular types. So we do have sections wherein we can mention whether the patient is a healthcare professional or the patient itself is a nurse or a pharmacist, whatever is the information given. So that also we can report. It depends. But if we do not know any information, it will go under unsolicited only. Like it will go as a spontaneous report only.
Okay.
Yeah, so as I said, the end-to-end pharmacovigilance process will involve all these 4 activities, that is ICSR, meaning individual case safety report, aggregate data analysis, signal detection, and risk management. ICSR will involve processing a case where there is only one single patient information is mentioned. Aggregate data will be like we are not in a position to identify a single patient, but we know that there is a cluster of patient, or we know there is more than one patient involved, but we now at the point of the report we are not able to segregate which is the patient and what actually has happened to a single patient. Okay, such data we will be processing under aggregate analysis. Signal detection happens when we have a particular data, when we have a lot of data, we have a cumulative data, we have analysis in our hand that particular drug is causing particular serious events or particular considerable events in a lot of people. We need to have a generation of a analysis of a data. We need to apply a lot of biostatistics and different mathematical formulations on those data, and we need to have a lump sum data in our hand to go for the signal detection process. Okay, based on the signal detection process and risk management plan, regulatory authority will think whether we have to recall the drug, or whether we have to ban the drug, or whether we have to just send some changes into the formulation of that particular drug. Okay, or to the whatever adverse drug event the drug is causing, whether we just have to send a warning letter to that particular pharmaceutical industry. So whatever is the respective action that is to be taken by the regulatory authority will depend on this final two steps, that is signal detection and risk management plan. So again, all these particular things as mentioned the same thing, that this PV is also been used in both the areas, that is clinical trial and post-marketing surveillance as well. So let's look after the very important point, that why do we need PV? Because even though the drug is approved in the post-marketing surveillance, it is very crucial to following concerns, which is also limited to the pre-marketing studies or preclinical and clinical trials. So why it is very important to follow PV processes? Because in the clinical trial, we are bound with a limited number of subjects. We can only max to max have 30,000 to 40 to 50,000 subjects. That's it. Nowadays, we do not go beyond 30 to 40,000 subjects. So if you compare it to the whole world population, the 30,000 amount of subjects data is very, very less, right? So we cannot predict each and every sort of problem that is being developed with the drug. So that is the reason pharmacovigilance activities are very, very important. So I can say pharmacovigilance activity has no end for any particular drug. Till the drug is in the market, the pharmacovigilance activity will go with that particular drug. Okay, until the life of the drug is still in the market, so the PV should always go with that particular drug. So it's an ongoing process. Okay, so tests in animals also are very insufficient. Okay, they're insufficient. We do not have a good data into our hand, so definitely PV is very important, right? Patients used in clinical trial are selected patients, they're limited patients, right? And every patient is a different patient, right? Everyone has a different uh, physical nature, everybody has different conditions, health conditions, so definitely the data will differ. By the time of the licensing, exposure of less than 5,000 human subjects to a drug allows only more common areas to be detected. As we already said, only it is limited to till max 30,000. So definitely, whatever reactions those 30,000 subjects are going to show will be some common areas, right? Because their particular health situation will be different, right? At least 30,000 people are needed to be treated with a drug to be sure that you do not miss at least one patient with an ADR, which has an evidence of 1 in 1,000 exposed individuals. So basically, this is some permutation and combination. That is what we are looking into the clinical trials. And based on those permutation and combination, we assume or we think that when the drug will come into the market, definitely it will perform at least up to the mark, or it will perform good so that we can survive in the market, right? To generate the business. Okay. The information about the rare but serious adverse drug reactions, chronic toxicity used in special groups like children, elderly, and pregnant women will always be incomplete, or I can say less. Definitely nobody will send their wife or their children to be part of any clinical trial as a subject, right? As a patient, because definitely we love our family. So nobody will as such send their loved ones or their family to take participate in any clinical trial. So definitely whichever these things are given, like any children, elderly, or any pregnant woman, whatever data we have regarding all these drugs which are used in such special population will always be less. Whatever data we have, the information, we will always have less information. So these are some names of different drugs which has been banned, like for example, Vioxx, which was used for an arthritis people. It has been approved in 1999. However, Vioxx showed a severe side effect of coronary heart diseases in US populations. Okay, so there were around 140,000 cases has been suffering with this chronic heart disease after taking Vioxx. So The Vioxx has been, marketed by and developed by Merck. So in 30 September 2014, the Merck has recalled this particular drug called Vioxx from the market. So PV is very important to prevent any sort of recalls. And why we want to prevent it? Because being a pharmaceutical industry, until unless we will stay in the market, we will not be able to generate the revenues, or we will not be able to generate the money out of the market, right? So these are different examples of different products which has been till now date banned, and what is the reason? Okay, so that has been mentioned in the table. So actually, the importance of PV is very crucial for us, people like us. Okay, pharmacovigilance is actually the most essential function within the life science company. To develop, manufacture, and commercialize a drug, company must adhere to strict regulations. As I said, if we want to sustain in the market, we need to follow all the regulations. If we do not follow all the regulations, definitely the regulatory authority has a sort of rights into their hand that at any point of time they can ban the drug, or they can ask any particular manufacturer to recall their drug from the market. And it is a directly hit for whatever the money they have put into the development of the drug, that will just go in vain, right? So it is very important to remain very adhere to the regulatory authorities regulations. Okay, regulations focus on the patient safety and the added benefit to the patient derived from the drug. Okay, so to look after the safety, we need to adhere to all the regulations. No other department has such a sharp focus on the patient safety as end to end. So pharmacovigilance is the only department which is looking after the patient safety when it comes to use of a pharmaceutical products. Okay, this in a nutshell is a mission of a drug safety and highlights why the discipline plays such a central and important role within the pharmacovigilance of pharmaceutical industries. So ultimately, I can say why PV is very important, because dying from a disease is sometimes unavoidable, right? But dying even after taking a medication is unacceptable. Why? Because we are taking the medications to cure ourselves, and definitely we are paying some money, right? So whatever results we are expecting from the pharmaceuticals or the any API or any drug is definitely a positive effect, right? We do not want to die from taking a medication. We want to get relief from that disease or disorder. That is the reason we take the medications. So it is very important. This pharmacovigilance is why we are running though. So thank you so much for taking your time out to look
So what
after
are the
this.
topics if you like going to be covered in a pharmacovigilance plan?
I have seen your module actually. So what I can say is after looking onto your module, so every of this modules point I have already covering to the other industries people. It's like for whatever two different industries I'm working for, two companies. So they also have the same module. So I actually work as in the module that you guys are going to provide me. So
Okay.
it depends. The lectures runs accordingly.
Okay. So